They gave me a glass plaque shaped like a kidney bean and a lukewarm round of applause. 5 incredible years, my manager beamed, handing it to me like I'd won a toaster at a PTA raffle. It still had the barcode sticker on the back. You've been such a bridge, he said, especially with our friends in Tokyo. I smiled and said thank you, the same way you thank someone for handing you a paper straw at a steakhouse. I'd spent 5 years translating not just language, but culture, expectations, nuance, and tone. I'd saved their asses more times than I could count. Once, I diffused a $2.3M misunderstanding because someone thought prototype meant final product in an email chain. But sure, clap, plaque, move on. Then came the quarterly staff meeting. The budget report flashed on screen, and I saw a line item for Tokyo travel expenses that made me tilt my head like a dog hearing jazz. It didn't add up. 3 trips billed to the client, none of which I was looped in on, and I always handled the Japan coordination. So I asked, casually, hey, just a heads up, are those Tokyo trips listed from Q2 internal or client-facing? I didn't see those on our shared calendar. The silence hit harder than any answer. Few eyes darted around. Someone coughed. My manager's jaw clenched so tight it looked like he was grinding teeth into diamonds. No worries, he finally said, a bit too light, clicking to the next slide. We'll circle back on that later. And just like that, the room temperature dropped 15 degrees. I spent the rest of the meeting pretending to take notes, while inside I was peeling the moment apart like bad fruit. It wasn't just the coldness, it was who wasn't looking at me. The VP of Ops, who usually made dad jokes about my fluent wizardry, wouldn't meet my eyes. The new guy, Tom, fresh off LinkedIn and still shiny with ambition, kept glancing at me like he knew something I didn't. That's when it hit me. They were circling wagons, and I was on the wrong side of the campfire. Look, if you're this far in and enjoying this corporate horror novella, do me a solid. 97% of folks listening don't hit that subscribe button, and I'm out here trying to hit my first ever 10,000 subscribers. It's free, it helps more than you think, and I promise not to make you sit through 5 minutes of Squarespace ads before I get to the juicy betrayal. Deal? Back in the meeting room, the slide deck droned on. Marketing numbers, sales wins, culture goals. I was nodding, but not really listening. I was doing math, trying to figure out how many calls I'd made in the last year alone with our Tokyo partner. How many times I'd stepped in mid-meeting to explain that yes in Japanese can mean I hear you, not I agree. They were setting something up, shuffling things around, and whatever it was, it didn't include me. Afterward, Tom approached with this awkward, toothy smile. Hey, he said, I might be joining some of the Tokyo Zooms next week. Just to, shadow you a bit. Learn the ropes, I stared at him. Tom's Japanese vocabulary consisted of sushi and PlayStation. But he had a polo shirt and confidence, so of course he was being groomed for something. Sure, I said. Just don't try to wing it. Tokyo doesn't bluff. He laughed like I was joking. I wasn't. I went back to my desk and opened my inbox. One new invite, a Japan logistics review meeting without me. Tom was on it, so was my manager. I wasn't even CC'd. My screen blurred for a second. I blinked, took a breath. That glass plaque on my desk suddenly looked like a tombstone. The next week, my work calendar thinned out like hair on a crash diet. No more Tuesday 9 a.m. syncs with the Tokyo team. No more prep calls with Kenji before quarterly presentations. No more review meetings on translation adjustments. It was like someone had performed a surgical extraction of my existence from Japan operations and done it with all the grace of a rusty melon baller. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Outlook likes to throw tantrums, and I've had recurring events ghost me before. But when I walked past conference room B and saw Tom inside, nodding vigorously at a Zoom screen filled with kanji he couldn't possibly read, I knew it wasn't a software bug. I tapped the glass and stepped. Hey, I said casually, scanning the screen. I caught a glimpse of the Tokyo logistics manager mid-sentence. Did this meeting get rescheduled? Tom blinked. Oh, I think they just wanted to consolidate things. Streamline, there's that word again. Corporate for we're replacing you with something cheaper and dumber. I smiled without moving any other part of my face. Great. Let me know if they say anything urgent about customs declarations. Last shipment nearly got flagged because someone listed the item value in yen instead of USD. Tom nodded like he understood. He didn't. Back at my desk, I opened the email chain from earlier that morning. Subject line Tokyo shipment ETA update. My name was gone. They'd started CCing a generic ops inbox, and bless his soul, Tom. When I tried replying to loop myself back in, the thread magically stopped updating. It was like I'd been shadow banned by my own job. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling that itchy crawl of dread behind my ears. Something was happening, not fast, not loud, but steady. I was being erased. Every so often, someone from another team would stop by and compliment me. Hey, heard Tokyo was super impressed with the Q3 call. That was all you, right? And I'd nod, paste on a smile, and pretend I wasn't reading between lines of digital exclusion. What made it worse, what really twisted the knife, was how cordial they were. My manager still asked how my weekend was, still gave me a thumbs up emoji when I finished a draft early, still used my name in Slack like I was part of the team. all while yanking the floor out from under me one meeting invite at a time. Tom started showing up at my desk twice a day. Got a quick one for you, he'd say, holding up his laptop like it was a crime scene photo. What's the difference between Yorishiku wange shimasu and Atsuker-sama desu? I keep hearing both in the same meeting. I wanted to say one means let's work well together and the other means please never talk to me again unless there's fire. But instead I gave him the corporate safe version. Explained context, cultural nuance, saved him from humiliating himself and by extension the company. Again, but I noticed something else. My name started disappearing from the translation notes. The live documents we kept for internal reference were suddenly view-only for me. Comments tagged to me got reassigned to Team Japan Ops, which, by the way, wasn't even a real department. It was Tom, and a manager who once asked me if Japanese people actually bowed that much or if it was just a movie thing. One afternoon, I saw a file open in our shared drive labeled Transition Plan Tokyo Client. No author, no description, I clicked it. Access denied. I laughed out loud, in the middle of an open floor. A dry, brittle thing that made the intern across from me look up like I'd just cracked a joke about death at a baby shower. That night, I didn't go home angry. I went home still. The kind of still that comes before the tide turns. The kind that waits. Because I didn't need to make noise to prove I mattered. All I had to do was disappear, and wait for the silence to speak for me. The meeting invite landed in my inbox like a turd wrapped in ribbon. Quick touch-based performance alignment. No agenda, no warning. Just a 2 p.m. surprise from HR with a CC to my manager and someone from employee success, which, as every corporate veteran knows, is code for you're about to get metaphorically smothered with a throw pillow. I walked in carrying a notebook and a pen I didn't need. Reflex, habit, hope maybe, they were already seated. Manager on the left, HR on the right, both pretending this was casual, like I'd stopped by for coffee and career advice, not a corporate shanking behind a conference room curtain. Thanks for making time, HR chirped like I'd had a choice. We just wanted to touch base, my manager said, folding his hands like a sitcom dad about to ground his kid for joyriding the minivan. There's been some feedback, I blinked, feedback. Nothing major, HR jumped in, already soothing. We just want to make sure you're feeling aligned with the team. Lately, there's been some concern that your role has become overly siloed, especially around the Tokyo account. Siloed. I repeated it like I was tasting spoiled milk. You mean the one I've managed for 5 years without a single escalation? It's not about performance, my manager said quickly, too quickly. You've been instrumental. It's more about collaboration. We've heard from several colleagues that working with you has become, well, challenging, that you tend to control the process. I speak Japanese, I said, flat, calm, like a knife left on a table. I don't control the process, I translate it. You brought in someone who thinks arigato is a type of noodle. They exchanged a glance, the kind of micro-expression HR trains for sympathetic but firm. The expression of people who have already signed the form behind your back. That's not the point, HR said, eyes on the script. We believe you may thrive better in an environment that allows more autonomy, where your skills can be appreciated more fully. There it was. The corporate breakup speech. It's not you. It's the org chart. My pen clicked itself shut in my hand. We'd like to offer you a generous severance, she continued, slipping a manila envelope toward me like it was a severed finger in a mob movie. Standard NDA terms. 1 month pay, extended COBRA, and we'll mark your exit as voluntary. A smooth transition. I didn't touch it. What happens if I don't sign? Then we proceed with formal termination. No severance. And your access will be revoked immediately. So polite, so surgical. The way they gut you and offer you a band-aid with their initials on it. I leaned back in my chair and studied them. HR, with her practiced empathy. My manager, suddenly fascinated by a hangnail on his thumb. You're cutting off your only translator because you're uncomfortable with being questioned. And you're handing one of our biggest international clients to a guy who uses Google Translate and hopes for the best. We're restructuring, he said quietly. You believe in empowering the team. No, I said, you believe in obedience. And I didn't roll over when I found 3 phantom trips to Tokyo billed to a client who never approved them. Their silence was so loud it felt like another person in the room. HR cleared her throat. This isn't a legal discussion. Good, I said, rising, because lawyers bill more than I do. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just walked out like a woman carrying her own execution file. Back at my desk, I tapped my keyboard. Locked out. Slack, logged off, Outlook gone. My name might still be on the glass plaque, but in their system I was already a ghost. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I didn't throw a chair through a window like some caffeine-fueled LinkedIn war story. I walked out with my spine straight and my expression set somewhere between pleasantly bored and just remembered I left the stove on. I said nothing. Not a single syllable to the team, not even when Tom gave me that sheepish, apologetic half-wave as I passed his desk, like we were both in on some joke neither of us could laugh at. My badge still worked on the elevator. I took the long ride down without blinking. People around me chatted about lunch spots. I listened to the ding at each floor like it was counting down something important. By the time the doors slid open to the lobby, I'd already decided I wasn't going out like a ghost. Not really. The night before, I'd had a feeling. One of those gut-deep tugs you get when the air changes. So while they were busy laying the groundwork to boot me, I was laying my own. I'd logged in, remote accessed the client communications archive, the whole corpus of emails, call transcripts, and translation logs with our Tokyo partners. I didn't take everything. I didn't need to. Just the threads that mattered, untranslated memos labeled priority, marked as read by people who couldn't tell a haiku from a haiku machine gun. Internal notes passed off as reviewed but never responded to. Calls where I flagged concerns about logistical delays, only to be ghosted in favor of streamlining. There were 3 memos from the Tokyo procurement director, all written in formal Japanese, all left in limbo. No action taken, no response. One of them explicitly asked for confirmation on budget overages from Q2, the same period I'd questioned in the staff meeting. The email was over 2 months old. No reply, no translation. It had been marked low priority by a project manager who once asked if Tokyo was ahead or behind us in time because of the equator. I saved them. I zipped them into a folder and gave it a name only I would recognize. Shikata ga nai zip, a phrase that translates loosely to "it can't be helped." A cultural shrug, but not the kind that lets things slide. The kind that acknowledges you're about to endure something and then endure it strategically. I transferred it to a personal drive, encrypted, twice, then deleted my digital footprints like a surgeon suturing their own wound. When I handed in my badge, I smiled at the front desk guy. "Off to better things," I said. He gave me a confused thumbs up. Don't think he knew I was leaving. Outside, the sky was gunmetal gray and smelled like distant rain. I stood for a moment, watching traffic blur by, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. My inbox was gone, my login credentials nuked. But the damage wasn't in what they took away, it was in what they left behind. See, here's the thing about being the translator. You don't just know what people say, you know what they mean. You know the difference between a nod and a silence, between polite disapproval and quiet rage. And more importantly, you know when someone feels disrespected. Tokyo hadn't felt heard in months, and now the only voice they trusted had just been erased like a typo. Fine. I'd let them find out what it's like to talk to Japan without subtitles. The best revenge, I realized, isn't always sabotage or spectacle. Sometimes it's the sound of nothing, echoing down a boardroom line while the contract renewal deadline creeps closer and no one on your end knows how to ask, "Do we still have a deal?" In the right language. I tossed my coffee into the trash, smiling faintly as it hit. And then I went home to write an email. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment in sweatpants and silence, my laptop perched on an old IKEA table that shook like a leaf every time I touched it. Frozen Trader Joe's meal wept steam in the microwave. My inbox, my real one, the personal one, blinked with junk mail, online bills, and one email thread I hadn't opened in months. Subject line in Japanese, "Let's go together." Translation, "Let's meet again someday." It was from Naoko Sato, Director of International Strategy at our Tokyo client's headquarters. I'd first met her during a typhoon delay flight layover in Narita Airport, shared a cold soba bowl and a heated argument about logistics merdata. After that, every call we had was a mix of precise negotiation and sly jokes about American coffee. I hovered over her contact. My fingers hesitated not out of doubt but out of calculation. There's an art to timing. You don't want to come off desperate or petty, you want to sound informative, so I wrote "subject" in Japanese for your reference. Naoko-san, I hope this finds you well. I am no longer with company name, but before formally stepping away, I wanted to pass along some items that may help clarify lingering questions from Q2 and Q3 communications. Please find attached a folder titled "Your Questions Answered." It contains untranslated memos, correspondence logs, and budget inconsistencies I believe were not escalated appropriately. For obvious reasons, I won't be involved in future correspondence, but I would gently suggest reconfirming any decisions regarding Q4 logistics directly. With deepest respect and thanks for our years of collaboration, my name, Independent Translation Advisor. I hit send. No drama, no "I'll show them." Just a neat click, like a chess move you know will take 5 turns to checkmate. Then I logged into Slack. The office channel was quiet. Tom had posted something about running point on the Japan client this week, flexed biceps, and tagged the entire ops team. No replies. I scrolled to the Tokyo channel. My name was still there next to a half-dozen unread messages, all in Japanese, all ignored, so I clicked the gear icon, chose leave channel, then typed one final message: "Thank you for the honor. I suggest reconfirming Q4 logistics directly." I added a bowing emoji. Simple, precise, like a blade being wiped clean. Then I left, no fanfare, no pinging inbox, just a sudden stillness like the end of a performance only one person knew was happening. Back in my kitchen, the microwave beeped. I didn't eat. Instead, I opened LinkedIn and changed my headline from Client Operations Liaison to something new: Independent Consultant Cross-Cultural Communications Strategy, Fluent Japanese. Let them see it. Let them feel it. Because I wasn't shouting. I was speaking fluent consequence. The first ripple hit 3 days later. An old coworker, one of the decent ones, the kind who used to sneak me chocolate from the break room before big calls, forwarded me a screenshot. No commentary, just a silent offering. It was an internal email from the VP of Sales. Subject: Urgent Tokyo client inactive. Has anyone heard back from Naoko or Hiroshi this week? Our last two check-ins went unanswered. Tom said they joined the Zoom but dropped after 2 minutes and messaged in Japanese. Can we get translation support ASAP? We need clarity on Q4 deliverables. I read it twice. Then I smiled, the kind of smile that's all teeth and no warmth. The kind you wear when you're watching a fire someone else lit finally catch the drapes. I didn't reply. A day later, someone else looped me in again, quietly, privately. A Slack message from a junior analyst. Hey, weird question. Are you still in touch with anyone from Tokyo? I think they think you still work here. They asked for your clarification on the Q2 billing thing. No one's sure what they are referring to. That made me laugh. Like actual shoulders shaking, snort through my nose laugh. Because that question right there, that helpless, tail between legs confusion, is exactly what happens when you fire the translator and assume Google Docs can do diplomacy. Meanwhile, over on their end, the Tokyo team had shifted tone. Slowly, deliberately, their email cadence dropped from daily to biweekly. When they did reply, it was clipped. Formal, no more emojis from Hiroshi. No more casual sounds good messages. Just traditional Keigo phrasing, the kind that wraps every sentence in layers of politeness, so thick you can't tell if you're being thanked or told to die in a ditch. Tom, apparently, tried to bridge the gap by using ChatGPT to translate a clarifying follow-up. He told someone it came out, as we honor your grandmother with great milk. And that's when the Tokyo side stopped replying entirely. Internal threads started multiplying like flies on roadkill. Has anyone gotten a calendar confirmation for next month's review? Can someone explain why the project timeline hasn't been signed? Do we have another bilingual on standby? Tom's struggling with nuance. Nuance, yeah. That's one way to say he used that was a delicious meal as a sign-off in a budget email. It means thanks for the meal, not we approve your quarterly spend. By Friday, I heard they tried reaching out to a freelance interpreter who once subbed in during a scheduling conflict. She declined. Word was spreading, quietly, professionally. The kind of corporate whisper network that moves faster than a press release and hits harder than an invoice. They still hadn't realized I'd been the one to plant the seed. They assumed Tokyo was just being difficult. That was their first mistake. Their second, thinking silence meant safety. But silence, especially in Japan, isn't passive, it's pressure. It's a countdown, it's the pause before the refusal, the grace before the no, and I knew Naoko. She wasn't ignoring them, she was preparing. The invite hit my inbox on a quiet Thursday evening, tucked between a confirmation for my dental cleaning and a 15% off coupon for cat litter. Subject: Contract Renewal Meeting Monday 0900 JSD sent by Naoko Sato. Attendees: Hiroshi Ito, Procurement Lead. Kenji Watanabe, Logistics Strategy. And still listed, somehow unbelievably, was me. Apparently no one had updated their internal contacts. I stared at it for a full minute, the cursor pulsing over the yes/no/maybe options. God, I wanted to click yes, just to watch the panic ripple backward through their boardroom like a fart in a sealed elevator. But I didn't touch anything. That would have ruined the perfection. Instead, I sat back, eyes scanning the words contract renewal like they were carved into the surface of a guillotine. Because this wasn't just a meeting, this was the meeting. The moment all the polite silences, unanswered emails, and bilingual brush-offs came to roost. And I knew what was coming. I knew how Tokyo worked. They wouldn't yell. They wouldn't threaten. They'd just not renew. And they wouldn't explain it, because if they had to explain, it meant they thought someone was worth explaining to. I opened my old work emails mirror account. Yeah, I'd cloned it weeks ago. Don't ask how. Just know I was very thorough before walking out. There, buried in a panicked thread titled Action Items Urgent, was the most delicious thing I'd seen all year. From Director of Client Accounts to all staff subject. Monday call need bilingual support immediately team. You need someone fluent in Japanese on standby for the Tokyo contract. Renewal Zoom this Monday morning, Sunday evening US time. Our regular liaison is no longer with the company and communications have become increasingly difficult. Naoko-san has confirmed the meeting, but we're not clear on agenda details. Tom is doing his best, but comprehension is a serious blocker. A serious blocker. Like the only person who ever understood your client is now gone kind of blocker. Like you fired your Rosetta Stone to save on salary, and now you're playing charades with a billion-yen contract kind of blocker. One reply stood out. A junior manager wrote, "Should we reach out to my name?" Even unofficially, the answer came fast. Absolutely not. That chapter is closed. Perfect. They were about to walk into a meeting with no translator, no context, and no clue. Agenda said contract renewal, but what it really meant was Judgment Day. And here's the thing about Naoko, she doesn't play games. When she schedules something under that title, it's not to discuss terms, it's to deliver decisions. I closed my laptop, poured a glass of wine, and stared out at the rain tapping softly against my window. Each drop felt like a countdown tick. 3 days. 3 days until they learned what silence sounds like when it finally speaks. The call opened at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern sharp. Tom had ironed his shirt. You could tell because the collar was stiff in a way that screamed I tried. Three other faces blinked into view from our U.S. team: Sales Director Dana with her glazed zoom eyes, VP of Ops chewing his lip like it owed him money, and someone from legal who looked like he'd rather be buried in a hole with no Wi-Fi. They were trying to look confident, professional, like they were about to negotiate, not beg. And then, right on time, Tokyo joined. Naoko appeared first. Her video background was a soft gradient of pale gold, the kind of minimalist aesthetic Americans mistake for Zen, but which actually screams we are more prepared than you will ever be. Hiroshi joined seconds later, nodding politely. Kenji followed, expression calm, unreadable. Then came the moment. Dana leaned forward, all teeth. Thank you for joining us today, Naoko-san. We're very excited to go over the revised contract and ensure everyone is aligned moving forward. Pause, Naoko blinked, tilted her head, and then spoke. In perfect, measured Japanese. First, thank you for your time today. Tom stiffened, nodded too hard. Yes, he said, just yes. Naoko continued slowly, purposefully. She outlined a 5-minute summary of concerns, metrics, and internal assessments, none of which anyone on the US side understood. Her tone never shifted, her gaze never faltered. She spoke with the polite finality of a surgeon explaining a terminal diagnosis. Hiroshi added 2 sentences. Kenji closed his binder. Dana cleared her throat. I'm sorry, would it be possible to, could we get a translation? Naoko smiled. It was the kind of smile that belongs in a museum, cool, immaculate, and entirely detached from the awkward twitching of the Americans in their rectangles. My apologies. Since there appears to be no interpreter, let us conclude here for today. She bowed her head. Hiroshi followed. Kenji said nothing, and then click, Tokyo vanished. The call hung in stunned, pixelated silence. No one spoke. Tom looked like someone had just unplugged him. Dana muttered, was there no? The VP of Ops opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't blink for a full 10 seconds. Legal coughed. Then, as if trying to conjure normalcy out of nuclear ash, Tom forced a smile. Well, that could have gone worse, right? No one laughed because it couldn't have. They'd just been handed a rejection letter written in a language they couldn't read, delivered live, and gift-wrapped in civility. And here's the cruelest part of all. No one even raised their voice. Tokyo had let the silence do all the talking. It didn't feel like a firing. It felt like being forgotten in the middle of a sentence. 2 months later, while sipping lukewarm tea in my favorite corner of a quiet cafe with peeling paint and bad jazz, my phone lit up with a push notification from Nikkei Asia. Mitsui Tech announces strategic U.S. consultant partner to streamline Trans-Pacific logistics. The article was brief, polished, professional, just a few lines about an American-based liaison specializing in Japanese market integration. Someone with deep fluency in both language and business culture, who would now serve as the sole point of contact for all future stateside communications. No firm name, just a title. But on LinkedIn, where the masks are thinner, it hit harder. My name, Independent Liaison for International Clients, Strategic Bridge between East and West underneath. A single update, started new role at Mitsui Tech Independent Strategic Consultant Partner. The word partner wasn't decorative. It wasn't corporate fluff. It meant I wasn't on their payroll. I was on their level. Back at my old company, the fallout had calcified into rumor. Tokyo had never responded to the revised proposal. There was no formal goodbye, no call, no reply, just a slow, reversible ghosting that left every project file untouched and every Slack message dangling like a spiderweb in a hurricane. They tried replacing me with a language agency. That lasted a week. They tried reaching back out to Naoko through back channels. That attempt didn't even get an auto-reply. And then one morning, in a glass-walled meeting room that still had my plaque collecting dust on a shelf, an HR rep read the article. She didn't say much, just muttered it to herself in a tone like someone realizing the light they turned off was connected to life support. We should have just kept her. But I wasn't theirs to keep anymore. See, that's what they never understood. I was never just translating words. I was translating trust. And once that's broken, no amount of money, panic, or desperate Google translations will bring it back. I didn't post about it. I didn't gloat. I didn't even block them. I just did what I'd always done. I kept things moving quietly, efficiently, and in 2 languages they still couldn't speak. And when I logged into Zoom now, it wasn't to interpret for someone else. It was to lead the call. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues won't know what hit 'em.